Hello. Oh, Josh is sad. Are you okay? You really sad about this movie?
He's crying. He just
Keep going,
Are you okay? Hello, everybody.
The emotional damage of the opening credit.
Oh, he's still crying. Welcome to an ETTO spoiler cast for 2022's Matt Reeves film, The Batman. This is going to be a spoiler cast, but we're going to go spoiler-free first up. Before we even do spoiler-free, I'm Will.
I'm Josh.
I'm Sam.
And I'm the other Josh.
He's the other Josh.
Finchy
or
for this, yeah.
One of them, because we don't want to get confused. Because it'll be a moment where I'm like, Josh, what do you think? And I'm looking down the barrel, but I mean you.
Yeah.
Does he not like me? All right.
I don't.
It's true. I make you cry. Let's go around the horn. Spoiler-free first up, how we felt in general about this film. I'll kick things off with you, Samuel.
Me?
What do you think? Yeah.
Gee, I can't imagine why. No, look, I mean, I did thoroughly enjoy it. Like, not being the biggest fan of Batman, like, when they make a good film, I'm like, yeah, sweet. Like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not the biggest fan of Batman, like, there are still things that I'm very well aware of in, like, the lore of Batman and, like, of Gotham and, like, just how the characters are in general. So I was very intrigued to see how, like, they were going to, like, portray these characters this time around. And I came out, like, fairly happy. I only had, like, very, very minor gripes. Like, it's just, like, a bit too long. That's really it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't mind it. I really had a great time. Like, when we start talking about it, I'll just start going on for hours and then start crying by the end of it.
Yeah,
but spoiler-free verdict is that, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Felt like it.
Nice.
Finchy, what do you think?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it as well. I kind of like made myself go into it with a neutral feeling of Robert Pattinson, because I've only seen like 2 movies of his, and one of them was The Goblet of Fire. So I've got nothing
Definitely
to go
his
on.
movie. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a movie starring Robert Pattinson.
It's definitely
It's a movie.
The Goblet
He's
of
in
Fire.
it, but it's like definitely not him. So
Yeah.
I
The Goblet.
I watched a video today where they asked Zoe Kravitz what house he was in. Josh, you're a big fan of this movie. What house was Robert Pattinson in?
Hufflepuff.
There you go. Good.
Good job, Josh.
Nailed it.
Good job.
That's my house. So
Hey, no,
It's my house.
And you saw it first. You were the first of all of us to see it.
yeah, so I saw it like 10 p.m. on the Wednesday, purely by accident. Yeah, I booked the wrong session, so ended up seeing it first. So that was good. Yeah.
Good. No, it's good.
no.
It's good.
Amazing.
It's a good experience. Josh,
Nice.
you here in this same room.
Yes.
What do you think?
But I also did not see it even in this state.
No,
I was
definitely
in
not in
Sydney
this
when
room.
I was in Sydney when I saw it with my sister, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really cool. I had a lot of fun with it. I kind of leading in, especially like early discussions with you before the ratings and stuff came out, we were like, we'll see. And then the ratings were just like,
This is the greatest movie of all time.
10s everywhere. It's wild.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that got me pretty keen for it going in. I was actually meant to see a different movie, but the session was too late for my sister.
Yeah.
So we saw The Batman instead, and we're both
Sing 2 instead.
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was too scary for her that late at night.
At that late at night.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a trend though where like everyone's seeing it not on purpose.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's an accident.
I was meant to see the Foo Fighters horror film Studio 666, but it was too late for my sister. And
Yeah, good.
But afterwards, she was like, she loved it as well. At first, she was like, I don't know, and then over time, like, I saw her the next day for most of the day. She's like, the more I think about it, the more it was a really good movie. Like, the more she realizes how good it was, and she's thinking through some of the plot twists and stuff like that. She's like, I'm really glad we saw that instead of Studio 666.
Yeah.
Good.
Sometimes, like, Warner Brothers ham stuff up a lot, and some of their character portrayals can be a little bit, like, schlocky. But this one just felt like a good film. I don't know. Everyone just really committed to the role in such a good way. But yeah, loved it. William.
I am the man that does that noise at the start of every one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
I like it as a Batman film. I think as a film, it is very bad. I think there is a lot of things. The prime thing that is not really a spoiler is that this is set into Batman's second year. They treat it like there is another film, and I think a lot of times that falls flat for the characters because I don't really know who they are as characters. I know who they are because I've read a comic book, and so as a Batman film, it's stellar because I can bring the knowledge I have to the table, and I'm like, I can get why these things are happening. But as a film in its own right, I feel like the characters become cardboard cutouts when you don't know who they are. There's a lot of and it's good for this film for people who have seen a Batman movie in the same way Homecoming is like, we don't really need to do that shit. We're just going to move on. So that works. I would almost say the same things with Homecoming where it's like, I don't get why Spider-Man does this and I don't know why he does that, but because we've watched the Spider-Man movie before, we let it happen. I feel like character-wise, there's a lot to be desired in this, but I think everyone plays their characters really well. I just don't think there's much heart to them except for Catwoman, who I adored. I think she's like the shining stone. Her and Jim Gordon, which we'll talk about in a bit because Jim Gordon's fucking still.
I had a friend who messaged me and was like, I wish they gave me more reason to care about these characters and like more, like a little bit more backstory for it. Because he's like, I don't know these versions.
Yeah.
So they're like, who are these people? Why? Yeah. What are their motivations? What are their thoughts? What are their personalities?
It almost feels like if Quantum of Solace was the first Daniel Craig movie, and it's like, I don't get why all of this is important, but I'm sure it is. And it's like, I just feel like I missed year one, which would have been an incredible story with these characters as well, because I do like them, and I want another one of these movies, and I'm excited for the future of this. But I just feel like as a film and it's on its own, it can't be. It needs a bit more. But I love the cinematography. It's great. The performances are very good. Giacchino's score isn't my favorite, but I just hope he finds some more notes in the future of these movies. He nailed those 6, those 2 or 6 notes. He just loved to use them. I'd love him to find some more because he's familiar with notes. Yeah. But they're my spoiler-free notes. They're our spoiler-free notes. I'm going to hit the big old spoiler button now. So if you haven't seen the film, I haven't pressed it yet.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to press it now, and then if you haven't seen it, go away. Spoilers ahoy now. I think the biggest thing that this film is going for is kind of a darker, more like grounded tone. I think obviously laying maybe a little bit closer to comics than the Nolan films. Finchy, I know you love the Nolan films. You love your Heath Ledgers and stuff. How did this feel compared to those movies in terms of tone?
This one was like a lot darker with the trilogy, the Nolan trilogy. I think they are more on the story side, whereas this is character side. Like they're building up a world instead of just going on a trilogy arc sort of thing. I kind of like both of them, yeah.
It opens really well. Like, Sam, were you pretty engaged from the off for this kind of darker tone?
I think...
Oh, there's a little smirk in there.
No, well, only because, like, just thinking about, like, the intro to this film, it's probably... Like, just the first, 5 minutes is probably the most engrossed I've ever been in any movie. Just when, he's explaining what his light in the sky means, not just to him, but to the people of Gotham and, all the crime that's happening. And then you've got these, thugs doing these crimes throughout Gotham. They'll see the light of a cop, a police helicopter above them, but then it'll quickly go to the bat signal and they just shit themselves and they start looking around at all the shadows around them. Yeah. And they have that sense that he's there, but he's not there. But there's so much fear instilled in them about who he is as the Batman that they're just terrified. And then when he eventually does come out of the shadows on that train platform and you hear his footsteps and he walks out and just beats those guys to a pulp. Yeah. I was so impressed. Because it really you aren't here to, and I guess in simpler terms, you're not here to fuck around. It's if you're going to make a Batman film, that's the sort of stuff you should be putting in a Batman film, because what I found in this is that everything is so true to the characters, to how they are in most of the comics. And I really, really love that. Especially with the Riddler, I found this to be one of the most what's the word? One of the most accurate versions of him for like a lot of ways that I can like talk about later. But yeah, just like that first 5 minutes when like, you know, they're talking about like having his light in the sky, having him, you know, be a symbol of like fear in Gotham, and then to his entrance, it was like I loved it. I really can't say more about it. Like I
almost wish it was like a short film they released before them. Like it's great that it's in there, and I'm glad that that's what. But you could have sold the movie on that 5 minutes.
100%. Like if that was like the trailer, I'd be like, I don't even want to see the movie because I don't want it to ruin this.
It's such a cool concept that like, you know, he is making a difference even though he's not there. Like you never well, in other films, like he's just always
where he needs to
where
be
the crime is. Yeah. But this is like there's crime everywhere.
Yeah.
But he's stopping crime without even being there because these guys are so scared of him when they're doing the crime. They're like, crap, I need to get out of here before he gets me. But he's only ever in one place. And it's like, that's such a cool concept.
Yeah. Like just quickly, I think like the cool thing as well is that like when you think back on like some of like the stuff that happens in the Nolan films, and even like some of the films like prior to that, you never really get a sense of how scared the people of Gotham are of him. It's kind of a thing where, especially in like in the Nolan films, he'll come across like, you know, a heap of bad guys, and they'll just be ready to fight him on and try to kill him if they have to. Whereas these criminals genuinely stop what they're doing and like just quake in their boots at the thought that he might be around that corner.
Yeah.
And to the point that they're like, nah, this isn't worth it. And then they just dip.
Totally.
It's like, I thought it was amazing. Yeah. Honestly. I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah. And I think like, and we should talk definitely more on the darkness of the tone, but I also quite appreciated how, and I've seen a lot of comments online against it, that they wanted more humor, but the amount of humor that was in this was like great. And there were like funny things. Yeah. There were like cleverly written funny moments. Yeah. Like when like
the thumb drive and stuff.
Oh fuck the thumb drive.
So good.
But just like I think it's in the first scene with him and Jim where they're like, he can't be touching things, and he's like, he's wearing gloves.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a great, like quick and that relationship, like even if the whole film sucked, I would be watching a sequel for Bat and Jim. Just like that is it.
Absolutely.
They've perfected that relationship.
Yeah, and like them, was it going into the orphanage? I think this was the point. And Jim pulls out his gun, and Batman's like, "No guns." He's like, "That's your thing, man."
Yeah.
Just keeps going. He's like, "Piss off." Absolutely not.
Yeah,
not putting my gun away.
It's so much fun. Yeah. Like I adore Jeffrey Wright, and he's one of those people that you can cast him in anything, and I'm like, yeah, he'll do it. Yeah, it'll be good. And he was stellar. Like speaking on the characters, like as much as I should clarify that it's. I wish I knew more for the characters for the development of the plot. I think as characters they're there. It's just there's things that they refer to that I haven't seen, and it's just a bit annoying that they're treating it like that. But like the characterization of Bat and Gordon in the briefing room while all the other cops are watching, and Jim's like pretending to be like interrogating him whilst just asking him questions, and just the funny faces he pulls. Yeah, just gold.
That's another thing. Oh man, loved it so much when they meet up later. He's like, "You could have pulled your punch."
Yeah, I did.
He's like, "I did." That's so good. Yeah. So quick.
It was very fun. Does anyone else have a moment that they want a fun bit? Because there's not much else. There's not much fun bits to talk about. So I think, let's get our favorite fun bits out.
Yeah. I mean, look, I really enjoyed the chase scene between him and the Penguin.
Oh, so sick.
And I think like my favorite thing about that is that like, and I'm sure you guys know, but when he comes out of the fire in the Batmobile, like that was real.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And like, I really appreciated that in this film, you could kind of tell because like from seeing like interviews and stuff, they explain that if they could do something for real, they would do it. If there was a way to do it, they would do it. And like seeing it on screen, especially like on a big screen, you can really feel that. Like, exactly, Will. Pull the words out of my mouth. But yeah, like I think in anything, like, because like, they mainly do it like in a film for Star Wars or like whatever. If there's like a practical set and actual actors doing the stunts and you can see their faces and all this other sort of stuff, it just really engrosses you so much more into what you're watching because it's like they've gone to that effort and that extent to make it real, to have it pay off well on screen. But yeah, that was great. And like Colin Farrell as a Penguin was just too damn good to be
So
legal
good.
in this movie.
I still can't believe how unrecognizable he is.
I wish I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't heard, because I've seen him in so many things that I can and he's played that sort of character that I can see the eyes, I can see
I
the
still
mannerisms
barely
below
could.
there.
I've seen him in a few things, and I still was looking at him. I'm like,
the makeup's incredible, but once you know that it's him under there, for me, I was like, it's a man in a funny suit.
Sure.
But it is like stellar. Like it's incredible, the prosthetics. And he was almost the same thing as Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, where I'm like, I don't want a TV show of the Penguin, and then the movie finished, I'm like, I'll take a TV show of the Penguin.
Is that a thing? Yeah. Sick.
So I should mention, so if you enjoy this film, there's obviously a sequel in the works. There's a Penguin show that is confirmed. There's a Gotham show, which is confirmed. There was an Arkham show, but that's now, Matt Reeves has kind of said that that's in the Gotham show. It's kind of a bit of both. And then there's a heavy rumor that there's a Catwoman series as well. So there's 3 shows and a sequel on the way. So if you enjoy this
Sorry, are they with the actors from this movie?
Yes. And the Gotham show will have Pattinson as well, because it's kind of, the idea is it's year 1 from the perspective of Gordon. So we'll get the details, and that's kind of what I mean. It's like, it's coming. It's just, I would have liked to have seen that beforehand.
Yeah. I have one more bit that I just wanted to, that I just
a
loved.
Good bit.
The recurring going to the door of the
twins.
of the nightclub.
Yeah.
And just seeing those guys throughout the film just come to the door, and like, at first they're just like, like, you know, big and strong, and they're sort of trying to palm him off, and then later they're kind of worried, and then later they're just like kids. Like when he turns up as Bruce Wayne, and he's just like, one sec, closes the door, he's like, see? I told you. Look who it is.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
It's that guy.
So, those guys are great. Like, don't need to be in the film at all, but it's just such a good little, like, recurring couple of characters.
And it's like a subtle bit of, like, comic bookism, because, like, twins exist, but twins in comics are usually very strange. Yeah. And so, like, having them show up, and they were probably the same actor. There was probably a bit of digi-double going on, because they looked identical. And I know identical twins exist, but there was just, like, the film had felt real up until that point, and that was the first moment that was like, oh, this is a little bit fun. Like, it's a little, there's doubles going on. Yeah, that was really cool.
It's good fun.
But that's a good reference of Bruce's character, because he attends that bar a few times throughout the film. And, like, so the thing with me with his portrayal, similar to everything I think about this film, I think the journey is going to be exciting. Because I don't love how emo he is currently, but the small glimmers of the Bruce Wayne that you kind of, the false Bruce Wayne that he puts on outside, they're in there. And I think that, like, you know, a lot of this film is about, hey, Bruce Wayne needs to be in public. Gotham needs him to be here. And so I can see, you know, Robert Pattinson's persona is going to kind of come through in the next films. There was a few moments where it was nice, like, moments with him and Alfred, and I was watching this fucking emo kid, and I'm like, you know, if you didn't have that stupid haircut, I would love this scene so much more. It's just, this is just wild. It's such a strange choice, but I get it's like Bruce isn't looking after himself, that kind of stuff, but that was the only moment of cringe in terms of them going deep into, like, emo darkness. I was like, oh wow, it's Josh. The version of Josh wanted to be, but he attended a Christian school, so he could never do it. He could never let his hair flop. He could never wear eye makeup. So instead, he just became a sheep. Just a sheep.
A sheep.
Yeah. What are you guys? We kind of, like, talked and touched on Pattinson's thing, but in terms of, like, a bit more spoilery, Finchy, again, you love, like, the bats that we've kind of had before. How did you feel like his kind of bat and Bruce kind of worked?
I think, like, we in this movie we see predominantly him as the bat, and I think it was, like, quite well done, but I think we need to see more of him as Bruce, and I think there's a lot that we don't know, and it'll be, like, really good to see him as Patterson. No, not as Patterson. He is Patterson.
As the bat.
But as Bruce Wayne. I mean, but I don't know where. I don't think we'll see that in the next movie. I think it'll be
a bit of similar. It'll take a while. It depends if there's a time jump. Like, Sam, like, where do you think that we're going with this Bruce? What's
I'm not too sure, but, like, I mean, I feel like by the end he had a bit more of understanding of like what his purpose was in like that city of Gotham and like what he needed to be for the people of Gotham as Batman. I did really enjoy him as Batman. Like I said, that scene on like the train platform of him walking out. I saw him in the suit and I was like, that's it. It's fine.
We're good.
Yeah.
Don't need to see anything else.
Yeah.
But no, I had the first impression where like him as Bruce Wayne and I was like, look, a bit too moody, but like I can understand why they went for that. And like when you understand what Bruce is going through at the time, it's kind of like, okay, understandable. A moment of him as Bruce Wayne that I really, really enjoyed was when we first see him converse. No, I think that was the first time, but it was a time when we do see him talk with Alfred, and he walks out into the sunlight. And prior to that in the movie, he explains that he's very much an animal of the night now. And you see him start to like squint a bit in the sunlight and then he pulls out some sunglasses. And I just thought that was really cool because it added so much to the character of the fact that he's been Batman for 2 years now. He's so used to being up all night and fighting bad guys and being in the dark that it's genuinely affected his eyesight in the daytime. Like he's not used to it. I thought that was a really, really cool touch.
It's like all of us when we've been on our phone until like 12 and
Absolutely.
then we're like, oh, I got to pee now. And you turn on the light.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's like, oh, shit. But like I absolutely like adored him as Batman. I loved Jim Gordon. Like there's no faults there whatsoever. That was absolutely perfect. him and Batman together, like you said, Will, absolutely perfect. I loved it. I loved that the whole time Jim Gordon was trying to like create a good case for Batman because you've got all these police that are like, Chief, are you serious? Again? Why is he here? And he's like, it's okay. He's helping us. Yeah. So like, I love that. I love that the two of them had their own little like duo. Even though for Jim, he's got the whole world against him in terms of like the people of Gotham and the police because they don't really trust the Batman yet because they don't exactly see him as a trustworthy person because like he is still very fresh in Gotham as Batman. So I love that. Shall we talk a bit about the Riddler?
Might as well. Might as well. About it. Josh, we'll pass around the horn. Josh, did you like the Riddler?
Yeah, it was. I really liked the reveal of him because it's like he's going to be like some crazy badass. I didn't look look up who it was, like who the actor was or anything.
Yep.
So then when he turns up, I'm like, some weedy little kid, like some nerd.
Yeah.
I really like that. It felt like a cool twist. Because it's just
that's totally
unsuspecting.
I wish I didn't know that it was Paul Dano.
Okay.
It's totally that of like because the whole like knowing the actor the whole film you can see his physicality, but that would have been a great reveal that it wasn't just a big dude.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Or like it was like another famous person that you would see and just instantly recognize and be like, holy crap, it's
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano. Yeah. Imagine not knowing that guy. But yeah, I loved that. And then once you actually we spent more time with him, once they arrested him and then Batman went and saw him in the jail cell and stuff, I felt like that was really cool. You could see how his mind was working and how twisted he sort of was and all of that. And it was a cool, I really love those moments. Seeing more of him after being quite terrified of him the whole film. Yeah. Just being like, you're a dude. Weird nerd kid that's, been on the internet for too long.
Yeah. That bit I fucking hate. That's the only part of his character that I'm like, I thought we were past this. Like the whole Reddit kid thing. I'm like, I could have done without that. But yeah, I'm just so glad that this Batman speaks English when he's Batman. Because it's like when he's like yelling against the window, I'm like, I love that I know what you're saying. I love that I can understand every word that you put out.
It's not just...
It's like Christian Bale had a stroke in that fucking costume. Sam, you like the Riddler?
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I feel like psychologically speaking, he was probably the most accurate version of him. I loved that. Like there were two things that he did throughout the film that I really, really, I was like, oh, that's just like spot on. The scene where he's got the guy in the church, like the bomb around his neck, and he's like, okay, we're doing 3 riddles in 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, okay,
he's here
perfect.
now. The Riddler's
He's here.
Yeah.
That was sick,
and then I loved that, like, because the Riddler, he loves being like 1 step or 2 steps beyond everyone. He loves knowing what his plan is, and that he loves knowing the certainty that his plan is going to work, and he thinks of every possible scenario where it can work and can't work. So I love seeing him have like a bit of a meltdown every time his plan didn't go to the way he wanted it to, because like that's what the Riddler does. He freaks out if like his So seeing him like at the end when he's in his cell, like just like that tear running down his face, and he's just in like stress of the idea that his plan hasn't gone the way he wanted it to. I thought that was very cool. I did get a bit of a kick, just like funny that he was like a kid online, just, live streaming and shit. I thought that was very cool. It was just like, for me, like as soon as they took off the mask, I was like, I'm not scared of you anymore. It's just like after that, I was like, cool. But I can definitely see in the future, like if they do anything else more with him, I can definitely see room for improvement in terms of like how psychotic he gets, because like there was I feel like in this film they brushed the surface of how chaotic he can be and how far he can take things. I feel like if they use him in the future, it can just be like 10 times more crazy than what he was in this film, which I'm really keen for.
Now that he's out in the open, it's like there's nothing holding him back. He kind of had a persona of being a gruff guy with that thing on, but it's like as soon as he took it off, he was weirder. He was a little bit creepier. Yeah.
In other portrayals that I've seen, like in the Arkham games and stuff like that, he's been quite like theatrical.
Yeah.
And he did feel like that, especially in that scene where
the bomb.
Yeah, with the bomb and he was like really playing up the thing. Cool. Like he was a game show host and he was having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
And then when he's unmasked, you sort of see the theatricalness kind of turn into that like psychoticness as well. Yeah. So I can definitely feel that sort of future, both of those just, becoming more grandiose, like just more theatrical, but more psychotic at the same time, and just having this crazy, union of that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, in case you guys didn't know, and like if people listening didn't know, if you read the prequel novel to the movie, and again, it's like, it's annoying that this wasn't in the movie, but in that, it kind of gives more motive as to why he's doing what he's doing in this movie. Because in the novel, it explains how, he was an orphan for all of his life, and he was brought up in, all these homes and all this sort of stuff. And one of those used to be the Wayne Manor, which was then given as an orphanage at some, like after, I think it was after the parents died. And he always saw Bruce as this like spoiled brat who was, just hated on, when realistically Bruce was sort of going through what he was going of being an orphan at the time, just not in a fancy suit and having a butler by his side. But yeah, so I found it cool that in the novel, like it gave a bit more motive as to what he was doing and why he was doing it, because he just felt like the system was very unfair. And I guess like when you think about it now, it's kind of the thing where like the system of Gotham was just so unfair that it drove him that insane.
Yeah.
So so it was a cool little bit of knowledge having going in that kind of made things for me a bit more easier to understand.
Did the book, because this is like, if I had an actual complaint about this film, really, like truly I was broken, is the third act, does it ever mention that the Gotham is built on a fucking river ocean? Does the book talk about the fact that there are sea walls? Did the film just feel like it didn't need to tell me that Gotham can be flooded? Because at no point does this movie set up that Gotham is on water. Maybe there's a wide shot of it at the start, but there's no point in the film where they're like, hey, if you blew up a wall, everyone would die with water. Like, is there any point that gets explained?
Not that I'm aware of, but it's kind of like the premise that Gotham is like always surrounded by ocean. It's like its own little thing. So like, logically speaking, if you blew up like that concrete around it, in the right points, it could flood.
It's not an element of the story until he pulls back the carpet and is like, oh my God, he's going to blow up Gotham seawalls.
Well,
it's like, oh, okay, I guess there's
what
seawalls.
I thought he was doing that I got really excited about was I thought they were doing No Man's Land, where Gotham just becomes an absolute like riot city. Like that's what I thought they were doing, and I was like, oh shit. Oh, this is going to cause a lot of problems.
It's still flooded by the end of the film, so they could be pulling a bit of it.
Into the next potentially. One, sure. But yeah, no, Will. There's no mention of why they are in an aquarium.
It's the thing that I always have with those moments. Literally, all it needed to be was in the bit where they're showing Thomas Wayne. Is that there needed to be or like someone says it to Bruce that's like. The sea walls are like degrading. Like Gotham's like on a knife's edge from falling apart. You have to do something about that. And then the Riddler's like, hey, you didn't do anything about it. Sea walls gonna blow them up. It's just like I was like, what? Yeah, why is everything flooding? Where is this water coming from?
Right.
Why are people running? What? Who dies? Who doesn't die in this situation? Why is there a stadium? Who's the stadium for? Oh, there's a mayor. I remember her from that one scene from earlier. Oh, she's shot. It was like. The third act, from that scene with the Riddler onwards, I gave up on this film, and I was sad because I was like, the riddles are beautiful. Like, they are so tied together, and it's such an intelligent story that when some walls blew up and water came in, I was like, what? Did you just not know how? Why is he fighting on some rafters now? What's that? All the intelligence of the story kind of fell apart. The action, even the fight choreography on those struts was a little bit shit. I was like, Batman took down men with ease earlier. Why is he now getting hurt by some Redditors on the internet? What happened here? Why is he struggling in this moment? And it just, the third act for me is where this film falls right on its ass. And then we'll get to a cameo scene that the ass was removed by that point. But there is one character that we haven't really touched on yet, which is Catwoman, who, as I've said, I think is the real star of this movie. She's the one that kind of gets backstory, which is what I wanted from a lot of these characters. Yeah. And I loved it. I thought Zoe Kravitz was great. All of her combat was great. All of her fighting was the kind of thing you expect from the Arkham games and from the comics. And I'm excited to see more of her. Another bit of the third act, sorry, I'm back. The fucking Fast 7 tribute sequence at the end when they ride off their bikes separately. Because the whole time they're riding bikes, I'm like, this is like that bit at the end of Furious 7 with Vin Diesel and the other one. And then they got to a crossroads and they literally split. And I'm like, I have got an edit. Bring on March 22nd. I'm ready for you, movie. Apart from that, it's fine. But how did everyone else feel about Catwoman? I
don't actually know a lot about Catwoman. And like the only Catwoman that I've seen in like a film or anything has been The Dark Knight Rises.
And
whatever
Hathaway.
her name is.
Yeah, Hathaway.
Yeah. I was so
she's the only like
Halle Berry.
Yeah.
I had my fingers crossed, but we didn't get it.
So it was actually like really good seeing Kravitz as this, and it's like she's not like a fancy like upper class person. She's like struggling just to get by day, and she's like kind of she's very independent as well, and I think that comes through really strong in protecting her friend, and yeah,
she didn't do a good job though, did she? Didn't really go.
No, I was going to say that. I was like, oh no, too soon. But so hopefully she's in the next few projects of.
Well, it seems like that's a very interesting thing. It seems like they're going to probably mainline that romance, that love interest, which would be good. Similar to the Spider-Man films, I'm glad they just went for at least the trilogy. He has one. There's not like a split. There's no like triangle. I'd be very happy with Kravitz and Pattinson to be the dynamic. At least through a trilogy. If they want to shake it up after that, that's fine. But they got great chemistry, which is, not something that happens in every superhero film. Aquaman. But it's fine.
Sorry, just another thing, thinking about like the relationship between them two. I don't know, I haven't read the comics of Batman. Do you think that like he would reveal himself as Bruce Wayne to her? Or would it be like a Batman and Catwoman relationship, and when they're not in the costumes, they're their own separate entities?
Well, it's because Selena is very open with her identity. Like she doesn't really. I think in the comics, it's almost like a thing of similar to Spider-Man and Black Cat. It's like it's up to a point, and then it gets revealed, and then something happens, and they kind of forget. generally, until they get married in the comics, generally they kind of keep that separate for sure. But
Yeah.
the thing of the beauty of films that Marvel have done so well as well is they can give the endings to these characters that the comic books never can. So if they want to do that, they can unmask and they can make a very unique relationship for the movie for sure. Is there anything we haven't touched on?
I mean, could I just give my quick
No.
opinion?
you're not allowed to.
Sorry, Josh. Oh, okay, cool.
Go ahead, Zeb.
No, you can do it. Yeah, you can do that.
Like it'll be quick. Like I just really liked that in this they made Catwoman more of a personality than just like a sex symbol.
Mm.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really good. I especially like really just enjoyed the scene where like, you know, we see her first putting on the suit for the first time as she hops out onto the fire escape.
Yeah.
It was so cat-like. I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
And just seeing like the lights from the city like hit the side of her body as she goes down. It was like a very just cool like imagery to see in a Batman film.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I loved that she was very much her own person in this and that she had purpose, she had motive for what she was doing. Like my only gripes with this film were that I felt like it could have been a bit trimmed down in the middle and I just felt like her subplot with trying to find her friend got a little bit in the way sometimes. I just I found myself getting a little bit confused with what was going on because at one point they're going after Penguin and they're trying to find her friend and then she's there to get her friend and then you know she's finding out that her friend's dead but at the same time the Riddler's still doing things and it's like I don't know. I felt like there was just a little bit too much going on at some cases of the film, but like it didn't necessarily ruin anything for me. It was just that there would be a split few seconds where I was like, "This is a bit much."
Yeah,
let's. You know,
I think
let's
the main
move on.
one for me was it was probably the third Riddler thing that wasn't the bomb, and I was like, "Oh, do it in threes." I feel like we got maybe one too many I've killed a man moments from him before we got to the big moment. It just was like, and again, all the riddles were very good and I'm glad that we got them, but it felt like there was one murder too many to get to the climax of getting to the funeral. And it is probably that storyline of her that if you lifted that, I don't think much would change. It's really there to get Catwoman to the places she needs to be in the film. But even then, like she was, it's weird. But speaking of Catwoman's interrogation and stuff, we got a few gadgets in the film, and I think, again, probably the best utilization of Bat gadgets they've ever done. The like wrist-mounted grapple guns that he can just kind of web zip out and then just fire. Like the video games have just been giving us blue balls that we haven't been able to do that. Like that's phenomenal. And like this isn't really a gadget. Cinematography-wise, I love how white Robert Pattinson's eyes are because sometimes he'll look up and you'll only see the whites of his eyes through the mask and you'll have those comic panels. I think most of the time when he's writing, he's kind of looking forward with his eyes but not the cowl, so there's a low shot and it's just, beautiful. And I was just keen to see, speaking of gadgets though, the venom that he injects, do we think that's leaning towards a Bane, a bit of drug use, like that's going to be a plot that kind of comes into play when he has to face bigger villains than a weedy Redditor?
Yeah, interesting. I didn't think about that leading towards a Bane. I was just like, I just
saw green goo and I was like, it's probably Bane.
That makes sense because when I saw it and he did it, I was like, oh, it's just like, he's got adrenaline on hand in case of these situations where he needs to
But then he goes
get out of it.
Shit, and it's like, this is a problem. And I do you think that might be a plot kind of moving forward?
Yeah.
Like I don't think it would necessarily be a plot. I think it's just like a cool aspect of the Batman and his gadgets to have in the movie because I'm pretty sure I can't remember exactly because like I've been trying to think about it the last few days without like looking it up, but I'm pretty sure he has the same thing in one of the Arkham games. Yeah, okay. Where he can like have a quick injection of something that gives him more energy to, finish that bad guy off or, get himself out of trouble. Like speaking of gadgets, so I love that the emblem could like be removed and he could use it as like a batarang.
He needs a couple more
just to cut something. That was sick. The one thing I was upset that we didn't see, which they mentioned in the prequel novel, is the explosive gel.
Yeah,
cool. In the novel, it's like his first crime is he finds this like explosive gel being used by a thug, and then he tracks down who's making it, but then he creates his own version of it to use as Batman.
Cool.
So I was like, oh, if they're mentioning it here, surely it's going to be a thing in the movie. And it was never shown. I was like, oh, well, that's annoying. But I like that it's in that universe because I love in the Arkham games that he's got that like explosive gel and he uses it so much. It's like, it's just cool.
But he's always got to spray it in the shape of a bat.
Always. If that does not happen,
he'll take off his center one, put it on the wall, draw around it, and then put it back on and go, boom.
No, but like I thought all of his gadgets were like really, really cool, especially when like after he punches Jim Gordon in like in the station, and he's got to use his grapple to like get up the stairwell. So cool. I thought that was sick. And like,
did you like the wingsuit? That is, it's definitely a one-time use, but the paraglider suit.
Yeah, because like obviously, like he's still new to being Batman, so he hasn't incorporated it into like his cape or anything yet. So I thought it was cool that like the ideas there for like I like the idea that he's thought about all these just different scenarios in his head, and he's like, oh, I'll just have a wingsuit underneath in case I need it, or wherever the hell it came out from. I don't even know.
Well, and I loved that he was afraid to use it.
Yeah.
You could see he's like, okay, I haven't tested this yet.
Totally. Totally.
I don't know who it was. It might have been Milk. It might have been Joshy in our Discord. But they mentioned that from that point on, he doesn't have a cape in the film. For a little while. So the wingsuit may actually have been kind of part of the cape that kind of puffs up and wraps around him.
That's cool.
Which is, it's a really cool feature. And I think the fact that he takes such a heavy fall, it's definitely a bit of, we'll make him fly next time. Like this is a setup for his failures. To
it's a Chekhov's gun sort of thing.
For sure.
Like, oh, he kind of flew.
Badly.
Like it was definitely a thing in this where it was like him as Batman, it was a lot of like trial and error, which I did like. Like it was great seeing because like, if you're going to mention that he's new as Batman, you might as well show that on screen rather than just him being like an expert at everything and knowing what to do.
For sure.
So I did like there was a bit of like a conflict between him being unsure sometimes and him trying to like work out the kinks still.
I also liked, like you said, that he's just sort of like thought about stuff. He's like, this could come in handy. Just right at the end, like he just pulls out a flare. It's like he's just got a flare. It's just like, the bat belt just has everything on it. And it's like he's thought about just having a flare. I know flares are like, probably common to have in that sort of thing, but just every time he grabs something new, like he had the adrenaline and the flare and stuff, it's just like,
it's the gap.
He has really thought about what he needs in this thing.
I kind of like that idea of like he's trying out these new things with the suit, and because if you look at the other movies that have been, when Bruce Wayne's had an idea to put something onto the suit, it's always like polished and clean. So seeing that, I'm going to add a wingsuit, and it's like still like an idea, like in the testing stages. It's good to see that he's actually like developing it and using kind of like tests to see what's got to be best for.
He doesn't have a Morgan Freeman. He's doing it himself at this point.
Yeah, he's just figuring.
it out. Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's totally it. That's a good point, and it's why this is a very cool beginning because it really is a beginning for a Batman. Like he is not good at things, so it'll be cool to see him improve. I'll say the final gadget, which I would say I was less sure on this than I was on Robert Pattinson. I was like, oh God, I don't like this thing. But the car, I was like, I don't know about this. I like the whole, seeing it in marketing, I'm like, it's a fucking muscle car. What the hell's that? The second it roars in the darkness and the little Knight Rider bar lights up, I'm like, okay.
I freaking loved it.
I legitimately started. I had tears throughout that sequence because the sound design is like nothing I have ever experienced in the cinema.
Yeah,
it is phenomenal.
So like the car is like a monster. Yeah, it's like some sort of beast.
The way it hums and roars and the thing that I loved it in the 89 Mobile. I love the jet engine because that is the 66 one. That didn't exist in the ethos of Batman until the Batmobile from 1966. And I love that it's still there. Just this, I like the blue. It's especially contrasting with this fucking room, but contrasting with the marketing of the film, seeing that blue kind of cut through the red, and that sequence is bathed in orange light. I will say that sequence had a lot of death. There's a lot of people died in that sequence.
Absolutely.
It was that thing of just sitting there being like, It's a movie. It's fine. I'm sure they all lived somehow.
Yeah.
My dad drives a truck. If my dad was in that incident, I don't think I'd have a dad anymore. But incredible thing. But we should talk about the ending. There's definitely theories. There's lots of things to speak on this. Josh, you've got one for the cameo that pops in very near to the end of the film. Josh?
Finchy Josh?
Yeah, you.
Oh, me. Okay.
I don't know anything. I don't care. I don't think beyond movies.
I kind of forgot it, but then I remembered it. I think going back to... you know how like we've got all these shows that are coming out from this. I'm thinking because like it's year 2, like this movie's year 2. I think maybe just one idea is that the next movie could possibly explore how the Joker got into the asylum, and it could be like the year 1 where Batman faces off with the Joker. And it could be that. I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing, it's a good point because Matt Reeves has talked on kind of that idea of the cameo and stuff. And he kind of mentioned the film almost had a scene where Batman comes to talk to the Joker, quote unquote, to be like, hey, you're pretty fucked up. This guy's pretty fucked up. You know anything about this thing? So like the idea of Batman kind of knowing this character is definitely there. So they could totally explore that somewhere. It could be in the show. Like it totally could be in the Gotham show. I'm intrigued to know the future of this. The actor, of course, is Barry Cogan. I think his last name is. But he is. No, you know him. You know him.
Of course I do.
He's Druig from Eternals. He's the guy that can control people. That has a little village.
Oh, really?
So he's playing the character of this thing.
Oh.
Doesn't have a name yet.
Yeah.
I didn't love his laugh, but it's definitely one of those things that I think a visual component to whatever was going on there will enhance it.
Yeah.
But for me, from the very little I've watched Gotham, the kind of relationship that Riddler and him were kind of forming there felt a bit like Penguin and Riddler in that show. And I really love what I've seen of that. And the idea of maybe the Joker doesn't have a solo, but he is working with the Riddler whenever that kind of emerges would be really cool. I don't want the Joker on his own if we see him again, because we've seen it so many times. To be honest, I didn't want the Joker at all. I was a bit disappointed that they had that moment in this film because I was like, oh, they really just couldn't do it. We couldn't make a Batman thing without that man. Sam, how'd you like the Joker tease?
Like, I really was not expecting it at all. Like, when we first see him in the prison and, you know, you hear this voice, I was like, oh, is it the Joker? But then I was kind of like, nah, I think they might do someone else. You know, it could be cool if it was like a version of Scarecrow or like, you know, like just anyone else. But then he says to the Riddler, he says the line where he's like, you know, you end up looking like a clown.
One of those clowns.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's the Joker. And like, I wasn't disappointed that he was in it. But like I can understand people's point of views where they say that he didn't need to be in it because like he didn't, like if he wasn't like, you know, because I feel like he did kind of take a bit of the attention away from what was happening in the moment. But like I was like the thing I was not expecting was us to get like a visual glimpse at him. I was not expecting that in the slightest. When we first saw him, I shit myself because I thought it was the Joker from Gotham because there was just something about like his skin and like his
the Jedi
like
man.
like just like the way his like face looked in like the light. I was like, I think that's the guy from Gotham. But then I was like, oh no, it's not. Like it's definitely different. But I love that there was more of like a creepy physical look to him rather than just being a guy wearing face paint. I loved that. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do with him. Like before tonight, I didn't have any thoughts on what they would do with him or whatever. I was just kind of like, I'll just leave it because I don't want my mind to like run rampant with like ideas and things. But I wouldn't hate it if in the Gotham series, part of it is the uprising of Joker, and then it's like, you know, that's the first time that the Batman gets involved because it's just someone who the police cannot control. and it's like they need an outside source to sort of come in and deal with this.
You could almost play it like Daredevil season 1. He's kind of, and Gotham did the same kind of thing. He hasn't really, Batman doesn't have a look until the Joker arrives, and it's like, I need to armor up, I need to be ready, and it's like they both, their origin stories are collided kind of thing.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what those shows are in general. Matt Reeves did say that his Joker, even though it's not really present, but his Joker will have a forced smile. Like it in a similar way to Joaquin's one having like the laughing thing, this guy's got a facial deformity that is a forced smile. Similar like Jack Nicholson's one as well, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, that's Josh.
Sorry, I had
Go,
a thing.
Josh.
Did you guys, I don't know if I'm making it up in my head or not, but I heard something in the lead up to the movie that they did the two showings of the Batman, like one with the character and one without.
Yeah,
Would that have been with and without the Joker at the end, or?
Well, there's rumored to be like I think the original cut was 4 hours something. So there's about 40 minutes worth of deleted scenes. There's some action sequences in trailers that aren't in there. There's a scene where he's punching a tire that's not in the movie. Fuck tires, I'd say.
Yeah,
fuck we don't need them.
He clearly doesn't like anything on the road.
No, he doesn't.
Just blowing
Just
everything
get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Go away, Alan. There's quite a bit cut from the film that we might see at some point. So that, it totally could be an alternate cut out there. But yeah, super keen to see what the future of this holds. The film is done incredibly well, much to the disappointment of many girls around the world. Robert Pattinson said if it flopped, he would just turn to making porn. That was his thing.
Really?
Yeah. He, in an interview before the film came out,
Good on him.
sadly, it's made enough money, so we will not be seeing his penis.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah. Oh, he's fine. He's making money. It's
Well,
sorry us.
I was going to say, like they could do what is it? Batman Metal or Batman
the
Dark
Black
or
label.
whatever. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
the one where you see some peen.
Yeah, we could see some pain. We could see some head.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, in this, because like a point that I had been thinking about, but I just like had totally not mentioned, was because when this movie was first like conceived, it was meant to be like an MA rating or like in America R, and there were many moments where I could see that being the case in the film, like especially a lot of the times that involved Falcone. Like when he was talking, I was like, that could have been a swear word. I feel like this character would have spoken a lot more harshly than what he was in the film.
I was so shocked where the F-bomb was. It was like in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I'm like, that's where you're spending it? On one policeman just being...
there?
Yeah, there's one F-bomb, and I think the policeman says like, who does this fucking guy think he is, or something like that. And I was like, that's where you're spending your one F?
Yeah, there weren't many, and whenever they turned up, I'm like, huh.
No, there's one.
Yeah.
Because it's a PG film. There's only one F-bomb in there.
Yeah, with the PG
in Australia.
film.
Yeah. Oh, it's M here, but it's PG in the US, which means they've recycled.
Like the 13 plus, and they've got the rule where it's only like one F-bomb.
What I will just add though, speaking of the bat dick,
yes,
like when it was meant to be a much more higher rating, there was like supposedly meant to be a sex scene between him and Catwoman.
The character they cut out was Batman's son going into...
No, it was Batman's third leg. That's what it was.
That's his third leg. It was a whole...
Yeah. But yeah, no, there was meant to be a scene where apparently you just see like the outline of his dick like you did in that comic.
Damn.
So I've seen many a memes where it's just people disappointed because they did not see a bat dick in the movie, which is very funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have just taken me out entirely if I had seen that in the movie.
I'd need a cigarette.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. I need to lay down.
I might need to start having a drink or something. Like, I was like, damn.
This movie really did flop.
Oh, poor Robert.
Yeah, good one, Josh.
He has to take a bat tablet for that. But that was our spoiler thoughts. That were our spoiler-free thoughts of this very Batman film. I don't think there's a projected release date for anything in terms of spin-offs and sequels, but we'll get this Bat trio back. It's technically a trio. There's only 3 boxes on the screen. There's 4 of us. It's a Bat quad. If you want to see more of Sam, not so much Sam's face, but things Sam does, where can they go, Sam?
They can go to @Sam's Studio AU. I had to think about that for a second because, you know. But yeah, I just do some cool art that, I mean, I think is cool. Other people might think it's shit, which is fair enough. But yeah, if you want to go have a look at that, feel free. William does it as well, though. So William, like, just plug that, mate.
I do it
like,
once every 3 months. That will do art is the one you want for that. That is that will do art. Finchy, have you got anything that needs plugging?
No, I don't think so.
Do you have a goat page?
No, go page. I've got a
Surely you've got a meme page.
Oh yes,
Surely
I do.
there's a meme page out
I
there.
do have a meme page. It's
Do you?
Yeah, it's Let me have a look at it. I think it's moldy mushroom memes.
Moldy mushrooms.
Yeah.
Macho memes, did you say? Or mushroom memes?
Mushroom, as in the magic mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
No,
makes so
yeah.
It's got to be magic.
Yeah, as in the
It's
thing
the only way.
Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
injects into his thigh.
Oh no.
Very good. And if you want more of us and you're not already following the things, head to youtube.com/each to their own, twitch.tv/etonline. And if you want to give us any dollars, where can they go, Josh?
Patreon.com/each to their own.
Yes.
And just a couple of dollars will get you into our super secret Discord where we can have chats about this and just hang out and
you can see our little heads that we're in a call.
Yeah.
Secret little call. But until the next time, I have been Will.
I've been Josh.
I've been Sam.
And I've been Finch.
Hey.
Hey.
Good.
I felt it from the first bar.
Giacchino, everybody.